Let's look over this with Laura Blumenfeld, who's a Middle East analyst at Johns Hopkins University in the United States. Welcome to DW. How big a job does Marco Rubio have on his hands in Riyadh?
He has a big job on many levels. I mean, we've been hearing the word frustration both from Europe and from the Arab world, and that's diplomatic speak for furious, because just in these first few weeks of the Trump presidency, the president has come on really strong. And so it's Secretary of State Rubio's job to kind of be the velvet glove on Trump's brass-knuckled approach. I think there are two things that he can do while he's in Riyadh. The first thing is just delivering his message, and it is the president's message, but it's sort of in the sort of gentle tones rather than the language of threats that Trump seems to favor. The second thing, which is maybe even more important, is just to listen. That's just one of the most important things that countries want to know. They want to know that they're being heard, especially after President Biden, who valued alliances, and suddenly we're seeing this kind of unilateral approach. I think he can go a long way just by sitting down with the leaders, whether it be in Saudi Arabia or beyond, and ask them, just for their own input.
Well, Saudi Arabia has already rejected the Trump plan and repeated its commitment to the establishment of a Palestinian state. So, as well as listening, does Marco Rubio have carrots and sticks in his bag?
Well, he's there really to hear the Saudi reaction and to take that on board. King Abdullah of Jordan delivered the no last week after his visit to the White House with President Trump. Now we're going to hear the no but. I mean, the Arab world was aghast at the idea of cleaning out Gaza. But now the idea is, well, then how would you clean it up, right? You can't fight something with nothing. You have to produce your alternate vision. And Saudi Arabia is very invested in becoming a world player. They're interested in kind of coming out into the world, whether it's the entertainment world, sports, and certainly diplomacy. We've got this high-level meeting regarding the future of Ukraine, not only Gaza, here in Saudi Arabia. So they're very motivated, I think, to not just be reactive to world events, but to be proactive.
On Ukraine, what's going on? The US plan for Gaza seems to mirror quite a lot of what the US is doing in Ukraine. Impose a plan over the heads of those involved, and accept a take it or leave it approach is more likely to be more explosive more quickly in the Middle East. Could the US force this issue?
Well, I think that part of it has to do with branding. We have to remember where Trump's coming from. He's a real estate developer, and he is all about the Trump brand. So as the Arab world considers various proposals, one of them, I think there are 4 proposals on the table that they're talking about putting forth. They're going to meet in Riyadh next week to finalize that. But the Egyptian proposal, they're actually talking about rebranding it and calling it the Trump plan, and financing would be the Trump financial plan. So there are ways of appealing to Trump, and they're quite aware of that, especially after the first term. But there are certain principles that they're going to want to stick with. One of them, America and the Arab world agree on, is that there should be no Hamas in control, that there is no future really for Gaza as long as Hamas is in charge, whether it's militarily or politically. The second thing is that they want to make sure that there's no displacement of Palestinians. Third, that there'll be some kind of Palestinian leadership, whether it be a kind of technocratic, non-political aligned leaders, but that it will be Palestinian run. And finally, for the financing, some of it will come from the Gulf countries, that's clear, but it also might be an international consortium. So again, I think that sometimes you ask yourself, how are you going to square that circle? With Trump, it's call you the circle a square. Right.
And as far, you mentioned Saudi Arabia's desire to play a bigger international role. Do you see them being pivotal in this, brokering a more unified regional response?
I really do. And part of it is because for Trump, Trump believes in the golden rule, but it's not the golden rule we learned in Sunday school. It's if you're rich, you're right. So he really does have the ear of MBS, the leader of, or the presumed leader of Saudi Arabia. Trump is going to be flying Wednesday to a conference in Miami that's being financed by the Saudis. He's willing to put, skin in the game. And so I do think that with Saudi leadership, it's kind of the right king, and he is an all caps king because of the wealth that he represents. There are kings who are asking for handouts from the United States. That's how Trump looks at it, and that might be King Abdullah. And then there are kings who can make Trump and America even richer.
Good talking to you. Thank you for walking us through that so clearly. Middle East analyst Laura Blumenfeld from Johns Hopkins University.
Thank you.